Welcome back to the channel. I'm Rochelle and this is Brampton Gardener, and today we're going to harvest the rhubarb. So here are my two rhubarb patches. I got this one about 10 years ago, this one about 5 years ago, and it's super easy to harvest. I mean, look how big these are, my gosh. So you just want to, now keep in mind I'm standing on a pile of potting mix on a hill, so it's a little tricky. So I'm just gonna reach as far down as I can and just kind of twist and pull like that. Okay, I'm putting them in my big bin so Dexter doesn't take off with them because the leaves are somewhat poisonous. So put them down like that. Now if it's your first year with a plant, you don't want to take any. And then from then on, you want to leave about a third. So I'm going to be taking quite a few today because I'm going to be making a few different recipes with them. But you want to make sure that you're just twisting it off like this and not cutting it. Because if you cut it, the plant doesn't notice. But if you twist it, the plant notices and then is like, oh wait, we got to make more. So you'll get more branches put out. So you can harvest on it. It's not just in the spring. You can harvest on it all season long. But you can see some of these are a lot bigger than others. So we're just going to be taking the bigger ones for now. So that's a decent harvest, I think. So you can take scissors or a knife at this point if you want, but I'm just going to twist it off like that. So this is what's left. And these are going to get hosed off, and I'll probably trim this off with a knife inside. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're sniffing the rhubarb, huh? So the recipe calls for 4 cups of rhubarb, so we have 8 cups. In the recipe, it calls for 1 cup of sugar, but she feels it's a bit too sweet, so she cuts it down to 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So I'm cutting it down as well. So doubling 3/4 of a cup of sugar, I'm looking at 1.5 cups of sugar, and then we have a teaspoon of cinnamon. So we're just gonna sprinkle that on there. Oh my goodness, it smells really good already. That cinnamon is beautiful. And next we're going to need some flour. But not just any flour, because here at Brampton Gardener, I mill my own flour. What? I know, seems a little crazy, but it makes such a difference. So anytime I'm using a recipe that calls for whole wheat flour, I mill my own whole wheat. So let's go watch that. So I have these lovely nice sealing 5-gallon food grade bins that I keep my grains in. This here is the this here is a soft wheat, and I find that I much prefer the flavor and texture of cooking with the soft wheat over the hard wheat. So I just use it pretty much for everything. The only times you'd really need a hard wheat is if you're trying to make a really nice you know, loaf of bread, you know, that needs more gluten and all of that, than the soft wheat. The soft wheat is usually more for pastries and baking, and that's usually what I use it for. So here is the wheat berries, as they're called. Okay. So I need 2 cups for my 2.5 cups for my recipe. I need 2 cups and 2/3 cup of flour for the recipe, since I'm doubling it. And the wheat berries, you need fewer wheat berries per cup. So I'm only going to mill just over 2 cups. Okay, so it's going right in here. So this is my nutrimill, and you just dump it right on top. Get another scoop. Okay, so it just sits up here in the hopper and it has different settings. So I can adjust the motor setting and I can adjust the feed rate. And all of this does is it adjusts the size of the milling. So I like to keep it where this one is at. I don't know what that means. I think it's on the low motor. And then this one, I usually just do it straight up and it works really good for me. I haven't really played around with all the different features, but that's what I've used and that's what works for me. So I'm going to turn it on. I will probably be lowering the volume on this because this is very loud. It kind of sounds like an airplane taking off and I'm not sure how Dexter's going to react. So here we go. Don't worry about my fingers because there's no way to get them inside. The blade is quite a ways down underneath. This is just the top of a funnel that shoots the grains down this funnel. So I can't get my fingers in there anyways, and so don't worry if you're all panicking about my fingers, they're fine. So here we are, we're just gonna pull it out of the drawer and we'll take it over to the counter and check it out. Okay, so this is what the top looks like. There's just this little filter here. Trust me, don't try to use it without this because all of a sudden you're gonna have flour flying all over your kitchen. The nutrimill comes with 2 of these, thankfully, so you can rinse it out, make sure it's dry before you put it back in. And then this is where the flour, after it gets milled, it goes through this chute and then it goes down into the bottom. All right. And here is my lovely, beautiful flour. So it's got all the different parts of the wheat. Actually, I'll show you my little thingy I have. I have a nice little demonstration of all the different things that are pulled out of your flour when it's milled down to white flour. So you can see that this stuff here is a little bit fluffier and whiter on this side here. So if you wanted to sift it out, you could in a really fine mesh sifter. If you wanted them more just light flaky, but I like to just mix it all in and use all of it. Our fruit. We have 2 cups here, and that leaves us with quite a bit in here. And so I had put in, what was it, just over 2 cups of the grains because I didn't want to run short. But yeah, honestly, I should have just done maybe even 1.5 cups. It does really fluff up, so you get a lot more for the grains. So when you're looking at buying the wheat berries to mill yourself, keep in mind that you're probably looking at like a 2-to-1 ratio of berries to flour. So it does almost double depending on the kind of flour grain you're using. And now for today's educational segment. Here we have the whole grain, as you can see. So this is also called a wheat berry. So what is removed from wheat in processing whole wheat white flour? So down here we have the white flour. So in order to get from here to here, they have to pull out the bran, the middlings, the wheat germ, and the wheat germ oil. So all of the nutrients, the flavor, the vitamins, the minerals, and the healthy fat there in the wheat germ oil, all of that is pulled out of the grain in order to make white flour. So you can see why fresh milled whole wheat is much better for you than just white flour. And to get the true vitamins and minerals as fresh as possible, you know, you really need to be using that flour within the first, they say 15 to 30 minutes. By 30 minutes, a lot of the nutrients they're just gone. So you want to use it as fresh as possible. So that's why, I mean, I keep it in the wheat berry form, and I just mill it up per recipe. So if I'm going to make some pancakes, or I'm going to make some bread or rolls or cookies, whatever, I just wait and I do it right when I am ready to make the recipe. I do not do it ahead of time. Like the bit of extra I have in there, I will put in a bag and save it. You know, I can just use it to thicken sauces and stuff. It's fine. It's not like it's going to go bad. And another thing is you don't have to worry about the flour going rancid. These wheat berries will last pretty much forever. Whereas in like the flour state or even the whole wheat flour that you buy at the store, it can go bad after a while, so you do have to be careful with that. Yeah, and honestly, it doesn't take very long. The video I showed you, I mean, that was start to finish. I did not speed it up. There were no cuts, no edits, no speed up. I mean, that was just real time of milling the grain for the recipe, so it doesn't really add that much time to it, and it just definitely adds a lot of flavor. I don't really like cooking or baking with whole wheat flour. To me, it just has no flavor at all. And now when I try to make pancakes with just white flour, if I was being, trying to be in a hurry, it just doesn't have the flavor that we're used to. It has a nice richness to it when you are using the fresh whole wheat berries. So there you go. That's your little education for the day. So now we're going to start making our crisp, or the crumbly part. So we have our fresh whole wheat, fresh milled flour here. We have our brown sugar, our whole rolled oats. These actually, I believe, are sprouted gluten-free oats. And then we have salt and cinnamon, which is under here, but you can't see it. Sorry about that. And then we have our butter. Now remember, the recipe will be down below, and I am doubling it if you're wondering why it looks like there's so much stuff. So I'm gonna just kind of give this all nice stir. Oh, and I'm using, this thing is the absolute best thing for mixing a crumble or doughs or batters. It's even really good for like meatballs, things like that. It is I believe it's a potato masher from, if you can read that, Pampered Chef. I got this years ago. I use it all the time. It's also amazing for making guacamole. So if you don't have one, Miss Heather Lynn of Heather Lynn's Gardening with Heather Lynn, she is a Pampered Chef consultant. I will drop her link down in the description below if you need to buy one. And I believe all their products have a lifetime guarantee. So, okay, some of that brown sugar is hopefully it'll melt with the butter, and then we're just gonna add in our butter. So I believe that was 1 cup of butter. So there we have our crumble, rhubarb, and flour, sugar, cinnamon mixture. Toss. And I should have used a bigger spoon, but this is the one I grabbed. All right, so now I'm gonna go get my big baking sheet pan, and I'll be right back. So we have our baking dish. I'm just going to line it with a little bit of butter. Give it a little bit more of a stir because you want everything to be evenly distributed. So keep in mind, rhubarb is very, very bitter. It has a beautiful taste on its own, but it's very sour, and it's kind of like cranberries, right? So you really have to, you gotta add some sugar, sweeten them up. And I think that's a lot of times why people pair it with strawberry, and also to kind of just make it go farther. But we are kind of rhubarb purists here. It's very good with strawberries, but we really just like it straight up on its own. You can just really enjoy the rhubarb flavor. Okay, so rhubarb is on, and now we're going to add our crumble. Basically, it's just gonna get spread out on top. Sometimes you just gotta use your hands. I think this is what they mean by when you cook with love. It means you got right in there. You got your hands in there. All right, so here we have it. It's ready to go in the oven and get baked. And so next time I see you, I will be having a slice of some really beautiful, juicy rhubarb crisp. So here we are. Came out of the oven. I'm gonna just set it here. Hopefully you can see what's going on. Don't fall off. And I'm gonna just kind of into here. keep in mind it can be very sweet, very rich, so you can always go back for a bigger piece, but start small. Crispy on the top. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. All right, so I added some fresh homemade ice cream. I didn't even wait for it to set up. It just came out of the machine, and it is soft and it is just absolutely beautiful, and I have to try it right now. It literally, like, it's hot. It's melting that ice cream fast. So let's give it a try, see how it tastes. Oh my goodness. That sweet, rich vanilla, and I use the lovely Mexican vanilla from Jesse and Lisa over at Lazy Days Ahead. And oh my goodness, it is such delicious vanilla. It really flavored this ice cream beautifully. And the rhubarb is just, it's just tender. It's sweet with a little kick of that rhubarby bitter sourness. This is delicious. So this is kind of one of those old-timey desserts. It's something that always reminds me of my grandfather. Two things remind me of my grandfather: rhubarb and football. So here's to you, Gramps. And I hope if anyone makes this recipe, make sure you comment down in the link below and let me know how you liked it. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.